finding out the risk to Gear 4th or whatever, mainly the fact that he's down on hockey. I thought the risk was going to be a little bit greater, but nonetheless, it's still in combat. It's basically, once again, like fusion, you know, running out of the time and whatnot, and then you're rendered helpless against your opponent if they're that much stronger than you or whatever. So finding out about that, it was kind of interesting. It could have been a bigger risk or whatever, but nonetheless, I mean, Gear 4th was a radical transformation, but not to the point where it's kind of like, okay, like, you know, he has to have a risk of like losing an arm after this match or whatever. So I think it was an equal risk for what he ultimately got. Getting more about Burgess, because Burgess has kind of been like throughout this arc under the table. It's kind of like he's there, but we don't necessarily know exactly what he's trying to do. But finding out more so that he's been like Blackbeard's like soldier, like, we want to steal this fruit, go ahead and get it, and he's been using Burgess to do so. So we definitely get to see a little bit more of Burgess these past couple chapters. And I think the fact that Burgess was introduced earlier on in the arc, and now that he's becoming a key player to the ending and the climax, is interesting, because Oda built it up, and yet again, while sometimes the slow pacing does get annoying, it all pays off in a major way, because now we got this whole Sabo versus Burgess, and between these past 2 chapters or whatever, building things up and whatnot, finding out more about Burgess, what he's really after. Just crazy that Burgess was built up throughout this arc to become very central to the climax. And once again, I'm left wondering, what is Koala? Is it just that she's smart? Why is it that she like was going after Burgess but wouldn't approach him because she knew she'd get wrecked? But then again, in 787, we find out that at the end of the day, even Sabo claimed that he would have his hands filled with Burgess. So, I mean, if Sabo was going to have a little bit of trouble with Burgess, then yeah, Koala definitely shouldn't have been able to take him or whatever. So I'm kind of glad in a way she didn't go up against him, because I don't want to see Koala get demolished. If something does happen to Koala, let it be at least on equal terms as somebody defeated her. And these 2 chapters yet again just built up exactly what type of monster Doflamingo is, because he took an ass whipping and a half from Luffy, and he's still able to walk. And not only that, what got set up, you know, having all the rest of the Coliseum people attack him, it was like nothing. And it kind of reminds me of Yu-Gi-Oh! At the end of the day, and I think I mentioned this before, but it really did. Like, it was a line where somebody said something along the lines of, I think it was Joey was trying to go up against Kaiba, and he was like, I think it was Yugi that said this, even though Kaiba may have lost to me, that doesn't change the fact that he's still one of the top duelists in the world. And just because Doflamingo got his ass kicked by Luffy and he's weakened, doesn't change the fact that he's Doflamingo motherfucking Mingo. You know what I'm saying? So like, all these fodder or whatever, they just got roasted. And again, I don't know if it's the stamina, and it kind of hints a little bit more towards awakening, because if Doflamingo is this fucked up and his awakening is still going, that we find out in 787 is still active or whatever, does it continue to be active until he's unconscious? Is it something that, like, it makes me wonder more about awakenings anyway. I think he still genuinely has control over it, and it's just until maybe he passes out that the awakening will stop. And just the ending of 786 with Sabo saving Luffy from Burgess or whatever, epic as shit. Like, Sabo has been one of the key players of making Dressrosa what it is, because, you know, there's been a lot of slow times or whatever, but anytime you throw Sabo in there, it heats up, no pun intended. And the fact that Sabo keeps telling everybody, Luffy's my brother, Luffy's my brother, once again, I'll say it, that bounty's going up. Brother of Ace, son of Dragon, brother of Sabo, that bounty is going up. Especially people are going to be more after his neck. The fact that Burgess now knows is like, and I would say one of the interesting things about 787 as well is getting more Sabo's characterization. The fact that he seemingly is claiming he doesn't have a grudge against the Blackbeard Pirates for what happened to Ace. Ace was his own man. I can't, at the end of the day, it was his journey, his decisions that led him to that. But I'm also not going to let you hurt my little brother. Now I'm here. Big brother's here now. So I kind of look at it as he's a fair guy, seemingly from what we see, because he still had a pissed off face or whatever. He's fair and he doesn't hold grudges, but also he feels like now he really needs to protect who's still left. So kind of getting more into Sabo's character, his psyche, and what he's thinking and whatnot. Kind of interesting. I will say a lot of these chapters, though, one of the things that I definitely think is taking it down a notch and honestly just like bothersome is the reaction from the people. We don't constantly need reactions from people talking throughout the streets or whatever, like, oh, Birdcage, oh, what are we gonna do? That shit is annoying. That's one thing I would definitely say waste pages. Like, I don't give a flying fuck, and I think most people don't, to see page after page of the townspeople running and screaming. I don't care. It takes away. It's supposed to add to the atmosphere, but when it's constantly happening, it just feels like filler. One of the big things that 787 brought forth that made me wonder is, how strong is Sabo? He was able to fuck up Bastille. He beat the dog shit out of Bastille. But Burgess is a problem. And I don't know if he's necessarily a problem that Sabo thinks that, oh my gosh, he's going to kick my ass. But like, Sabo even went up against Fujitora, an admiral. But Burgess is a problem. So either that speaks volumes about how strong Burgess is, or there's some inconsistencies in the power levels. Because at the same time, it's making me wonder, okay, so if he's going to have trouble with Burgess, but I think Luffy, you know, would have annihilated Burgess, what's going on here? Or is it just the way Burgess fights? Or is it Burgess' stamina? There's like a lot of questions that's making me wonder, how strong is Burgess? I know Burgess is up there in Blackbeard's crew, and if you look at it, Zoro is almost equal to Luffy. I would argue possibly completely equal to Luffy in strength, so maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just that Burgess is beyond strong, so yeah, Sabo's gonna have to struggle. Which is good in one aspect, because it definitely showcases that Burgess wasn't built up for nothing. I mean, Sabo with the Mera no Mi is still gonna have his hands full, so to speak, against Burgess, so makes Burgess at the very least look like he's exactly what he was talked up to be. Favorite page of these past 2 chapters was that one shot where Sabo just fucking burnt the shit out of Burgess. The art, the shading, and everything. And lately I've been liking to talk more about the art when there's something that impresses me, and that impressed the fuck out of me. It just looks sick, and oh my gosh, the anime is gonna look gorgeous with, hopefully anyway, hopefully. Anime, please look gorgeous for some of this shit, because it's Sabo. And the whole thing with Birdcage closing or whatever, the 4 minutes, 3 minutes, blah, blah, blah. Like I said in my live reaction, I honestly think Zoro and the rest of the Coliseum people are going to add an extra minute or 2. Enough time for Luffy to be able to get that, you know, minute that he needs. And it's going to be a close call, but I definitely think that that's what's going to save Luffy the time that he needs in order to take down Doflamingo with that one hit. That's what I think is going to happen. I mean, the fact that Oda is still making these people relevant is good, because there was a long time where a lot of us didn't give a fuck about them, but Don Chin Zhao, my favorite, Bartolomeo, all of them or whatever coming back, and they're definitely helping out for the bigger cause, makes it that all that slow-ass build-up, a lot of the shit we didn't care about, was meaningful. And some progression as well with the factory getting torn down and whatnot. So definitely these past couple chapters, I would argue the previous chapter, last week's chapter, was a bit better, but this week's chapter was a decent chapter as well. It was a good chapter for the most part, maybe a 7 out of 10. Not too much on the big progression side, but it was still nonetheless building up towards the finale or whatnot. The previous chapter though, with Sabo coming in and saving Luffy and all that shit, just like Sabo is right now owning this arc. So an 8 and a 7 for these past couple chapters or whatever. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think about Sabo versus Burgess? How strong is Sabo? I'll ask that question one more time. How fucking strong is Sabo at this point? Is he Admiral? Is there an inconsistency? Or is Burgess just that damn good? Like, is he just that damn good that, like, Sabo's gonna have trouble with him? And what do you think about the awakenings regarding the fact that Doflamingo's all fucked up and his awakening is still going? Like, do you think it's until he passes out? What's going on with that? Some theories about awakenings, because there's definitely something huge that's going to be added to the One Piece story and the One Piece, you know, power scales. And your overall thoughts? I mean, not much to say other than fucking Sabo is the man. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that'd be amazing. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.